Hello, friends. Have you ever wondered what God is like? Typically, when we meet someone new, there are questions in our mind about that person. What's their personality like? What are they all about? What is important to them? What kind of a friend will they be? Well, with God, thankfully, all those questions have been answered because Jesus is the fullness of God in a human body. And Jesus came to reveal God to us so that we may know who he is and what he is all about. And there are so many stories I could share with you today in this video, but there's only one story I'm going to look at that reveals so much to us about God's character and what he is like. So this story is found in Matthew chapter 9, and let's read it here together. It says, "While Jesus was having dinner at Matthew's house, many tax collectors and sinners came and ate with him and his disciples. When the religious leaders saw this, they asked his disciples, 'Why does Jesus eat with tax collectors and sinners?' Overhearing this, Jesus says, 'It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. But go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not empty religion. For I have come to call those who know they are sinners, not those who think they are righteous.'" And what I love about this story is it teaches us so many things about God's character. So I'm just going to make some observations about this story, and hopefully it will teach you a little bit about who God is. So first of all, Jesus as God sought out the company of all people. So Jesus, he did not just isolate himself and go sit on a mountaintop somewhere. No, he befriended people. He sought people out. He formed personal relationships wherever he went. And it didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter if you were an adult or a child, whether you were rich, whether you were poor, whether you were a religious person or whether you were a prostitute or a sinner. Jesus always was going around forming personal relationships with people wherever he went. And this teaches us that God is a God of relationship. And he desires to know people. And he desires to know you. And he wants you to know him. And we know this is true because this is what Jesus did when he lived here on this earth. All right, now let's look at another thing from this story. Here we see that many people were coming to this person's house to eat with Jesus. And they were tax collectors and they were sinners. Now the reference here to tax collectors may confuse you a little bit because here in America, we think of the IRS. Well, tax collectors back then were a little bit different. So Israel, the nation Israel, had been overtaken and conquered by the Roman Empire. And so tax collectors were Jewish people who had went to work for the Roman Empire and were collecting taxes for Rome. And so the Jews viewed these people as turncoats. They were traitors to the nation of Israel. And not only that, they also had the reputation for being dishonest and overcharging people for their taxes and pocketing whatever it is the Roman Empire did not require. And so they were social outcasts. They were hated by the Jewish people. But Jesus welcomed these people in. He didn't care that they were outcasts. He welcomed them in and he ate with them. So we see Jesus in this house eating with tax collectors and sinners. What does this tell us about God? What does this tell us about the nature of God? I don't care what kind of baggage you carry. I don't care what is in your past. I don't care what terrible things you have done. If you desire to meet Jesus, he desires to meet with you. And he turns down no one based on their past. He turns down no one based on the baggage they carry. We see this over and over and over again in the Bible. Jesus welcomed whoever would come to him. And this is certainly true today. Okay, so continuing on, we see that the religious leaders kind of ask a question behind Jesus' back. They go to his disciples and they ask his disciples, "Why does Jesus eat with tax collectors and sinners?" Because the religious leaders were not like Jesus. They did not associate with the outcasts of society. They did not associate with sinful people. And so they were kind of curious as to why Jesus was associating with these people. And so they asked this question to his disciples behind Jesus' back. But Jesus overhears them asking this question, and so he gives them a good answer, an answer that tells us more about the nature of God. Jesus says, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick." And so in this answer, Jesus, he is referring to himself as the doctor. And Jesus has not come to deal with those who think they are healthy. Jesus has come to deal with those who know they are sick, who know they need mercy, who know they need forgiveness and help. These are the people that Jesus has come to help and make whole. And he is able to do it. He is the great spiritual doctor of our hearts. He is the one who is able to heal us and make us whole again. So let's continue on with this story. He says, "Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not empty religion." And this tells us so much about God. There are so many people that I have talked to about God, and it is very common for me to hear an answer like, "Well, I'm doing the best I can," or, "Well, I try to go to church," or, "I try to be a good person," or, "Well, at least I know I'm not as bad as that person." Look, none of those things matter. Jesus is not trying to get you to be a better person. He's not trying to get you to be religious. You know what the desire of God's heart is? It is his desire to show mercy. And one thing that is beautiful about mercy is that it is given to those who don't deserve it. And so with God, we can be completely honest about who we are. God, I am screwed up. God, I have this baggage in my life. God, I have made these choices that are bad. I know I have done things that are bad. You can be honest with God. You can admit these things to him because he delights in showing mercy. What he doesn't want is he doesn't want people to play religion. He doesn't want people to put up a facade of self-righteousness. He just wants you to be honest with him, and he delights in showing mercy to you. So this teaches us something so valuable about the character of God. And then he says something else to the religious leaders. He says, "I have come to call those who know they are sinners, not those who think they are righteous." And so as you are watching this video today, if you can freely admit to yourself, "Man, I know I have messed up. I know I have done things that are wrong. I know I carry baggage in my life that needs to be dealt with." Well, I have good news for you. If you are able to be honest with yourself and with God about these things, you are well on your way to having a personal relationship with God. But if you in your mind have thoughts like, "Well, I'm not as bad as that other person is," or, "I'm a pretty good person. I think I'm on God's good side because of the good things I do." If you have thoughts like that, you are not on your way to having a relationship with God. Because look at this verse right here. It says, "God opposes the proud, but gives mercy to the humble." And when we try to take confidence in what we have done, we are being prideful. But when we humble ourselves before God and say, "You know what, God, I have screwed up. I have done things that are wrong," he delights in showing us mercy. And so I hope that this little story right here has showed you something about God, who he is and what is important to him. He is a God who delights in showing mercy. He is not a God that wants people to practice empty religion. Okay, so you can be honest with him and you can come to him with all your problems. He delights in showing mercy, and he will receive anyone who wants to have fellowship and relationship with him. That is our God. Thank you.